This isn't the California Penal League.
Well, actually, it is the California Penal League. And anyways, I thought I'd do a short video, an overview of our league. It's week 10 out of 21 regular season matchups, so we're just about halfway through the fantasy baseball regular season. And so I'm just going to go through the standings real quick. I had to give a general overview of where everyone stands, because why the fuck not? Just for fun, fuck it. All right, East Division, I'm leading the way at 8-1. Now, I gotta say, well, first, I like my team quite a bit, but having said that, to be 8-1, 9-0, or have some ridiculous record in a head-to-head league, you have to have some matchup luck, and I've definitely had that this season. For example, good old Eric Hernandez. Yesterday, Sundays for closers, unless you don't double check to make sure your starting pitcher that you streamed is in your starting pitching slot. Unfortunately for Eric, but fortunately for me, Derek Holland was on the bench, and because of that, I won to move to 8-1. But enough about the Vegematics. And Eric. Sorry, guy. 2 games back is Mikey. 2.5 back is D-Buck. And Gabe sits 2.5 back as well. And then you have Fred and Matt Gabb bringing up the rear. But we still have about 12 weeks to go, including this week. So there's a long time to go to turn it around. And moving on to the West Division, we got Andy leading the way, 5-3-1. Paul's just a half game back. Eric, despite his accident, is just 2 back, as well as the new manager Phil, Dave, and then you got Holcomb at 2.5 back. So this West Division is a fucking clusterfuck, which is kind of cool because obviously most of the league is still alive for the playoffs. I mean, hell, if you look at this, I mean, 10 teams got a realistic shot at the playoffs right now, and even Fred and Matt Gabb, there's so much season left, you're not out of it either. All right, let's go down to the categories. I usually check these once a week, but actually it's been a little bit, so let me take a look. Runs, we got Gabe leading the pack, 375. Good job, guy. Then Dave, myself, Holcomb, D-Buck, and Fred round out the top half of the runs leaders on to home runs. You have Dave leading the way, which he's come out of nowhere because I used to check just about once a week these categories, and D-Buck was fucking killing it in home runs, but Dave's come out of nowhere, so good job, guy. Extra base hits, let's take a look. Dave's first again, not a surprise since he leads in home runs. D-Buck, Phil, Gabe, Holcomb round out the top half of the extra base hit leaders. RBI, you got the new guy at 381. And then you have D-Buck and Gabe pretty close together. Moving on to stolen bases. Paul's leading the way with a ridiculous 64. And I think Paul's won 6, 7, maybe even 8 Willie Mays Hayes trophies already, and we're just starting week 10. So, nice job there, guy. Just fucking running wild on the base path. Moving along to average, if I can click on it correctly. Mike leads the way at, we'll call it 289, which is pretty outstanding. I mean, everyone else, you can see it kind of just progressively goes up. From top to bottom, just progressively gets bigger, you know, not a huge difference between each standing. And then boom, Mike's just on top by 12 points, let's call it. And the laptop's dying. So let me plug this rig in. There we go. On to OPS. Now this was a category I was curious about because the networks are now using this when they show the stat line for a batter when they're at the plate. And it's not a stat that's anything new, but analysts and experts and even fans like to point to it as like a good way to value a player. So I was wondering if the OPS leaders had any correlation with the leaders in the standings. So you can see here, top 6, not fucking really, just myself and Gabe are the only two that are the top 6 in OPS as well as the standings, aka the playoffs. Let's move over to pitching. Vegematics is kind of running away with that a little bit. I did stream my dirty dick off the first 8 or 9 weeks, so that kind of helps there. You have D-Buck and Andy and Eric, Dave, and then Paul rounding out the top half of the K's leaders. Quality starts. You got D-Buck leading the way. And then you have a nice big clusterfuck here of you got 6 guys within 1 quality start from each other. So that's kind of fucking tight to see. Yeah, a little bit of a contentious category there. Quality category, if you will. On to W's. Vegematics leading the way. That's what is that? The second? Yeah, it's the second pitching category that Vegematics leads in. Good job, me. Andy's riding my fucking asshole. And you can see some of the other guys that follow him behind. Saves. You got D-Buck, who I believe that's his second first ranking in a pitching category. Yep, it is. So good job, D-Buck. He's leading in saves. Moving on to holds. Let's pick this pace up a little bit. Is Vegematics with my 3rd top pitching category. I think I just strained myself from patting myself on the back. Then you have Gabe right behind me, which I'm sure he loves that. And moving on to ERA. Paul, the only person with a sub-3 ERA. Good fucking job, Paul. You have Dave, Gabe, Mike, and Andy rounding out the top half of ERA leaders. On to WHIP. No surprise. Paul's leading in that. Got Gabe, myself, Dave, Matt, Gab, and Andy rounding out the top half. So good job, Paul. I mean, he's number 1 ERA and WHIP, so he's throwing out some fucking quality. He's about the quality. Let's check out active or inactive managers. Eric leading the way. Now, it's great when you make a lot of moves. I like seeing that. But you got to make sure those moves are, in your lineup there, guy. I'm sure you're not the only guilty party, Eric. Anyway, so you have, these are the top 6, but only 2 people in the top 6 in the standings are also in the top 6 in moves. So for now, there might be a negative correlation with moves and playoff contenders, but probably not because it's too early in the fucking year. Anyway, go on down. You got fucking Dave just chilling with 1 move. Doesn't give a fuck. To his credit, he continues to fill his lineup each week. So, you don't want to make moves? You don't want to make moves. You like your team? You like your team, right? So fuck it. And hell, he's just 2 back of his division anyway, so. Alright, so that is the standings. Let's take a look at the projected playoff bracket. Vegematics got the bye. Andy's got a bye. Then you got Mikey versus Paul in the 3-6 matchup. And then D-Buck versus Gabe in the 4-5 matchup. Now, let's pay attention to Gabe and Paul. They're the 5-6, so the last 2 schmees in the playoffs. And let's just see how many people are close to the playoffs. So here with Gabe, Fred's 2.5 back, Matt Gab's 3.5 back, and Paul, 1.5 back, Eric, Phil's 1.5 back, Dave's 1.5 back, and Mike is 2 back. So basically, the whole league is within like 3.5 games of the playoffs, and we have 12 weeks to go, including this week. So keep on filling out your lineups. Add drop if necessary. If you want to get kinky and make some trades, that's kind of fun too. And there's one more thing I want to look at. What was it? Oh yeah, trophies. Let's take a look at the trophy leaders. Why the fuck not? Here we go. This is this week, but let's look at the leaders. Looks like Andy and oh no, wait, sorry. Paul is tied for the most trophies with 9. Then Virgin Maddox is second with 7. Then you have Andy and D-Buck with 6. And then a slew of other people between 2, 3, and 4. So that gives you kind of an idea of who's bringing on the hardware so far. Let's go ahead and take a look at the recent ones. Why not? Phil won the winning trophy because he had the most wins. He also took home the Wild Thing Award because he had a ridiculous 82 fucking strikeouts. Fred stole bases like it was going out of style. So did Gabe. They took home Willie Mays Hayes Award. And I took home, I want to say that might be my first Toronto Slug Award. And I was tied. I was tied with somebody for that, actually. So let me give them credit where credit's due. Yeah, I was tied with Mike. We both hit 18 dongs this week. All right, well, I think that's a good enough general overview of the league, the standings, trophy leaders. Just like to thank everyone that's in the league right now. You guys filling out your lineups. You're being active if you need to be. And so good times, great fucking oldies. And I might start making these maybe every Monday. If not a general overview of the league, because that might get a little redundant week to week. Maybe some kind of video. Anyway, that's it and that's all.